Chapter 320 Broken Cocoon. When the Yellow Maple Valley cultivators saw this, they were reminded of what Han Li had told them about the Blood Servant's demonic transformation. They all knew that during their transformation, the Blood Servants would become easy, stationary targets. Thus, they launched magic tools and techniques, assaulting the 4 cocoons of light without restraint. Naturally, they wouldn't let go of an opportunity like this to subdue the enemy. Unfortunately, as Han Li had said, the light spheres were incredibly hard. Despite the violent storm of attacks, the cocoons remained intact. They didn't appear to be even slightly damaged, causing the faces of the Yellow Maple Valley cultivators to become unsightly. Everyone, if you have any last resorts, use them. Do not hold back. If you don't use them now, we will be in dire straits when they emerge from their cocoons. With that said, Lu Jing immediately withdrew his magic tools and solemnly took out a golden talisman, pressing it between his 2 hands. He started muttering a mysterious incantation, causing the talisman to radiate with unceasingly dazzling golden light. Although Han Li didn't know what grade that talisman was, he grew alarmed upon seeing it. Since Lu Jing, a mid-foundation establishment cultivator, required an incantation to activate it, it meant that this talisman was no common item. When the others saw this, they looked at each other and then revealed their hidden capabilities. The most eye-catching among them were Song Meng and Chen Qiaoqian's senior martial sister. They both took out an inscribed treasure talisman and then immediately sat down to activate them. Blue and gray radiance emitted from their treasure talismans, causing those who looked on to feel envious. Treasure talismans aren't easy to acquire for Foundation establishment cultivators, even with the backing of a large clan. Only those who were looked upon with great affection by their seniors would be granted them. Otherwise, with merely their own wealth and status, how could they possibly acquire such a treasure? The others were unwilling to be outdone and made a display of their own. They either strenuously used impressive magic techniques or brought out wondrous magic tools for their attacks. Brilliance immediately filled the sky as their magic tools and techniques were chaotically flourished. Han Li used neither his talisman treasures nor his astonishingly powerful giant sword technique. Instead, he chose to use his most energy-efficient method. With a wave of his hands, several heavy objects fell to the ground in front of him, 4 of his puppet beasts. The puppet beasts opened their ice-cold eyes and their bloodthirsty maws, fiercely shooting out several beams of light in a well-practiced manner. Han Li stood behind them, taking advantage of the situation to restore the magic power used during the previous fight. As he had yet to encounter that Black Fiend schoolmaster, he wasn't willing to use the entirety of his strength and prematurely exhaust his magic power. Han Li intended to preserve his magic power in preparation for any contingencies in the upcoming battle. He had a few more hidden cards, but he wouldn't reveal them until the time came. The appearance of the puppet beasts had somewhat surprised the others, but they immediately went back to focusing on their own matters. After all, the techniques one used and the magic arts one cultivated were one's own secrets. Nobody would be so tactless as to ask about them. Those who knew the origin of the puppet technique would believe that Han Li had acquired it from Li Huaiyuan. As a core formation cultivator, it wasn't difficult to imagine that he had killed several thousand bamboo school cultivators and acquired a few of their school's magic arts along the way. Thus, the others only felt at most great curiosity toward Han Li's puppet beasts. At this moment, Lu Jing's golden talisman finished activating. Trembling lightly, it transformed into a streak of golden light before flying toward the blood-red light cocoons. An explosion rang out as a burst of golden light created a snowstorm of luminous floating specks that filled the entire sky. The dazzling scene was as fantastical as a dream. However, this beautiful marvel concealed an extremely sorrowful desire to kill. During this dazzling scene, Lu Jing formed an incantation gesture, causing the luminous specks in the sky to undergo a strange transformation. Gradually shrinking and expanding, they finally assumed shape of small golden swords. Although the swords were only an inch long, each one possessed a threateningly cold and incomparably incisive air. Thousand Blades Technique. Lu Jing said softly, revealing the name of his metal attribute magic technique. Everyone who saw this scene, aside from the two who were focusing on activating their treasure talismans, was left stunned. Metal attribute magic techniques were the rarest among the 5 elements, most commonly taking the form of defensive auxiliary magic techniques such as the Golden Armor Technique or the Iron Skin Technique. Lu Jing's offensive metal attribute area magic technique exceeded expectations, leaving Han Li and the others dumbfounded. They all slowed their actions, wanting to witness the entirety of this marvelous spell. Thousands of shining, sharp golden swords were suspended above the cocoons of light, emitting a frightening pressure. Lu Jing then chanted the activation incantation, causing the small golden swords to hail down and stab into the spheres of blood-red light. Poo-poo. Everyone heard a series of muffled stabs as the golden lights entered the blood-red spheres. Brilliance scattered in every direction like a dense storm of fireworks. Under the others' attacks, the light cocoons had displayed no change. But under this fierce attack, the cocoons began to gradually swell as if knowing the fearsomeness of this attack and responded by taking the initiative to reinforce the blood-red light as increasingly intense waves of light swords struck down. When Lu Jing saw this, he felt neither joy nor worry. Since his attacks pressured the light cocoons to change, they were shown to be effective. So long as he increased the power of his attacks, he would be able to break through the blood-red light. But at this moment, more than half of the small swords had already fallen and the light cocoons still appeared as red as they were at the start, looking as if they had handled the attacks with ease. "Senior Marshal Brother Lu, allow me to lend a hand," Song Meng shouted loudly. The gray talisman in his hand transformed into a meter-long, gray spear that emitted a strange gray chi. "Let's get rid of the blood servant on the left first, do not scatter our attacks." Seeing that Song Meng had condensed the true form of his treasure talisman, Lu Jing said this with unsuppressed joy. Soon after, he pointed at the small swords that had yet to fall. Suddenly, the gold sword started falling in a dense barrage toward the cocoon of leftmost blood servant, the ice demon. Following the rumbling sounds of impact, the cocoon of blood-red light seemed to have shriveled significantly. Having seen this, the others joined in, using magic techniques and magic tools in a simultaneous attack. Song Meng followed with his gray spear, causing it to release a sharp chilling wail as it shot forth. As the Thousand Blades techniques and the others' instantaneous attacks whittled away at the remaining thin layer of the previously invulnerable blood cocoon, the silhouette within could vaguely be seen. The gray spear was able to finally penetrate the cocoon, causing a furious, deafening roar to echo in everyone's ears. 2 sharp, white crystal claws suddenly emerged from the blood-red light, immediately tearing away at the remaining shreds of the blood cocoon with ferocity and revealing the true appearance of the silhouette within. It was a half-demon transformed, white monster. At first glance, this person appeared to be an incomparably beautiful and refined youth. However, 2 small white horns protruded from the top of his head and a foot-long pure white tail sprouted out from behind him, each covered with faintly sparkling, white scales. In addition to his 2 extremely sharp claws, his entire body exhibited layers upon layers of demonic properties. 2 bowl-sized bloody holes were present on his shoulders. The flesh around them continuously squirmed and contracted, causing onlookers to feel their blood run cold. But in the blink of an eye, the bloody holes completely healed. "You're all courting death," the half-transformed ice demon yelled fiercely. Clearly, he had retained enough of his mind to be able to speak. Although he didn't finish his demon transformation, he believed that with the demonic characteristics of his current body, he would be able to buy time for his companions to finish their transformations. The complexions of Lu Jing and the others, who had yet to see the demonic transformation, paled after seeing this frightening appearance. Although they had previously heard Han Li mention the strange appearance of the blood servant's demon form, they became extremely shocked and apprehensive upon seeing it with their own eyes. Suddenly, several beams of white light struck the ice demon's bare body and immediately sent it tumbling, causing it to appear quite battered. Unwilling to hear the enemy's rubbish, Han Li had immediately ordered his puppet beasts to attack. When the others saw this, they came to their senses and madly resumed their barrage of attacks. However, the ice demon that fell to the floor released a cold mist from its entire body. As the mist spread, he disappeared from his original location. This left the others shocked, hastily looking in every direction. According to their previous experiences, when such a scene occurred, the opponent had used an evasion technique and quickly escaped. However, such a technique wouldn't have allowed them to flee far. Not a single person could be seen near the 3 remaining light cocoons. The ordinary Black Fiend school sect disciples had long fled as they weren't foolish enough to remain. When Han Li saw this, his heart trembled as he suddenly thought of something. He hastily patted his storage pouch, taking out his white scale shield and tortoise-shell magic tools. He hurriedly had them revolve around his body as he loudly yelled, "Everyone, be careful." He concealed himself. Just as Han Li said this, a woman's miserable shriek could be heard, causing everyone to hastily look in the direction of the scream in alarm. They saw that Junior Martial Sister Chen's Senior Martial Sister, who was originally sitting down activating the talisman treasure, was now lying on her back. A large hole had appeared on her chest as if someone had reached in and torn out her heart. As she laid in a pool of her own blood, her beautiful appearance became slightly twisted as her limbs continuously thrashed about. Her eyes were filled with an incredulous fear before turning into unreconciled denial as her life slipped away.